All right. Welcome everyone to the roadmap to the cloud that Doma and Caresoft and AWS has put on here together. With me today is our CTO Chandler Pitcher and one of our AWS architects, Alfred McCarrick. We wanted to share with you today. Our goal here is to share with you a better way to prepare your understanding and your staff if you're considering cloud migration. We here at Doma, we put together a 4-step process that we can use to help you better understand the cloud, how to move to the cloud, the associated cost of moving to the cloud, and hopefully it'll help you better position yourself for such a change. Here are the 3 folks in the session today. Like I said, myself, Dwayne Tharp. I'm the Senior Client Executive here at Doma for Cloud Services. We have Chandler Pitcher. He's our CTO and the main #1 guy when it comes to AWS at our facilities and our company. And then Alfred McCarrick, he's our AWS Solutions Architect. This is the process I just mentioned to you, the 4-step process. Our experts, along with AWS here, will kind of guide you through this today and talk about the different pieces and parts of this process and hopefully help you have a better understanding at the end of this session on how you might get started with your journey to the cloud. All right, why the AWS or why Amazon Web Services, the Doma story? Chandler, can you help us with that?
Certainly, thanks, Dwayne. So we're an AWS Select consulting partner, public sector partner. We focus on Windows migrations. We have a cloud-based product, a document content management portal that we deliver to customers as a software as a service model. And we often get asked why we use Amazon Web Services for our infrastructure. We migrated to AWS about 8 years ago. We were on premise prior to that point and decided to go all in on the cloud and all in on Amazon Web Services. We selected them primarily because they are the undisputed leader in the market. They have the most market share as well as the most robust resources. Pass it over to Alfred, and he can describe the steps we take for the assessment.
Great.
Thanks. So let's go over the assessment. A couple facts that we have here. I know that Chan just spoke about why we moved to the cloud and why we chose AWS. During that phase, I know that there were barriers to migrating. Here we talk about some of the biggest barriers to those migrations or for that migration. Number 1, security concerns. I think that's on the top of everyone's list, especially today. Security is a big, huge issue. Everybody wants to know that 1, their data is always encrypted, always secure. 2, nobody can get into their system, without them being allowed to. So that's one of the biggest barriers, for customers nowadays. Another is sign off on the management executive support. Usually it's a top level down approach. If you have sign off from your executive management, that trickles down to, your employees that are going to be doing the work and doing the migrations. It makes it a little bit easier for them to actually get that completed and get that done when everybody's on board. Finally, the internal staff. Again, if everybody's on board with moving forward on that migration, do you have that staff available? You want to make sure that you have a dedicated team that'll help you migrate your on-premises environment to the cloud, whether that be a full migration or maybe a hybrid migration. Having the resources to do that is essential.
So Alfred and Chandler, back up to security. Are the clients that we're working with in the SLED space, are they required to manage all the security in the cloud themselves?
What are you talking about, like a shared services model, Dwayne?
Yeah. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Because all the security concerns aren't on their backs anymore. It's a shared concern once they move to the AWS cloud, right?
Right, that's correct. So AWS has a shared security responsibility model. What that is pretty much AWS is going to be responsible for the security of the cloud, while the customer is responsible for the security in the cloud. What does that mean, right? So pretty much it's saying that AWS is going to manage, your hardware upgrades, your software updates, pretty much anything inside of that infrastructure in the cloud, they will take care of for you. The customer, on the other hand, will be responsible for patching the operating system, managing your network configurations, your firewalls, your customer data, making sure that those are secure in the cloud.
Great. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to the next slide. Is a cloud assessment disruptive?
Simple answer, no. It's not disruptive at all. The cloud assessment really just uh, it's a tool that sits on top of your current on-premises infrastructure, and what it does is just records a lot of resource utilization data depending on what you're currently utilizing right now, so that we can uh, best figure out a course of action for you moving to the cloud.
Awesome. So let's talk about the third step, the second step in the process, the TCO report, Alfred.
Sure thing.
I'll just share that this report, I believe, is very crucial to the whole process of going through and looking at all of your databases, your workloads, whether it be Microsoft workloads on the cloud that could be moved to the cloud, or VMware workloads. It looks at SQL Server and many other things out there that you should consider, especially with the new licensing models from Microsoft, if you're considering the cloud. And our report kind of goes through some of that and helps you to make some decisions when it comes to cost. And Alfred's going to explain that to you now.
Yeah. So cost, of course, is going to be a big factor for anybody that's looking at migrating to the cloud. Doma actually utilizes a lot of tools. Well, I don't want to say a lot of. We're actually in the process of evaluating a couple tools for cost optimization. A couple of those tools are called Cloudimize, Device42, and possibly RV tools. But one tool that we always utilize, no matter what we do, when we do a TCO, is the AWS calculator. So when we go through a customer assessment, we usually do a deep dive into exactly what the customer's needs and what their pain points are. Once we figure that out, we come to a consensus with the customer, and we provide them different services so that they can utilize, different services that they can utilize in AWS to meet and resolve those pain points and meet those needs that they have.
Right. Next slide.
Cool. So what metrics does a TCO report provide after an assessment? So it provides a couple things. One of the most important things is it provides a detailed outline of suggested migration strategies for the customer. So what we provide is multiple options for the customer to migrate depending on their needs to the cloud. This allows the customer options to choose which best suits their course of action, or how they want to migrate to the cloud. The other thing that the TCO report provides is it's a cost analysis based on their on-premises environment as opposed to being in the cloud. It normally shows where they can save, where their savings are on the infrastructure costs, such as overhead, which could possibly include electricity, water, building maintenance, things of that nature.
Okay. Next. So is the cloud actually cheaper or better than on premise? Generally, we have found, yes, that is the case. in most cases, there's a higher upfront cost to migrate over to the cloud, but long term, the costs tend to be lower and your ROI is typically higher. With AWS services, they have a pay-as-you-go model, so you can put in one instance and grow that as you grow. You can do a like a trial run with a small application, a small database, and then as things grow, the pricing will go up. But there's also a tool that Alfred will talk about that helps you secure and manage those costs. We use it here at Doma internally to manage the cost of being on the cloud, because that seems to be a lot of concern is raised about, well, it's just a lot of cost and it can grow without me knowing, and those kind of questions. Can you share a little bit around that, Alfred?
Yeah, I think what tool you're talking about, Dwayne, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Trusted Advisor.
Yeah.
What that tool does is it sits on the back end in AWS. It's actually a service that they have under your billing section, and what it does is it provides you with information on best practices for AWS, and not only that, where you can actually have a cost savings, based on your EC2 resources, storage capacity, and things of that nature, so that it keeps you, one, up to standards with AWS's best practices, and two, saving a little bit of cost from overutilized services.
Sure. Chandler, can you share how you've used that at Doma over the years?
Yeah, certainly. We have it configured. We have Trusted Advisor configured to send out reports on a weekly basis, and then so that gives us a quick overview of anything that we need to immediately take a look at, whether it's permissions on an S3 bucket, whether it's snapshots on a volume. It's just a very easy to use tool that will give you high visibility to anything that's not not set up in an optimum manner.
Right. So one of the things about going to the cloud, you guys please help me explain and clarify, but is the flexibility that it allows an organization, because you plan for today and you don't plan for a 3 to 5 year stretch like you do with traditional hardware, right? And so that allows you a lot of flexibility to grow when you need it and not pay for it up front. Is that what you would say, Chandler or Alfred?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A perfect example of that would be anytime that you need to respond quickly to changes in volume. You're not going through a traditional procurement process where you need to scope out some hardware, you need to purchase that hardware, deploy that hardware, stage that hardware. You can quickly scale vertically and horizontally within AWS in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? Though,
Yep.
as well as if they lose their data center, unless they have another warm data center sitting somewhere, they're in a bad spot. But with the cloud, they can set those scenarios up ahead of time. Would you go into a little bit of that, Alfred?
Yeah. So, for instance, if you were in a traditional data center, you'd have to buy equipment for both data centers, pay for both data center locations. With AWS, you could spin up two regions, have one region, like you said, as a warm standby, shut everything down, and not be paying costs out in that region, unless you need to. Once you have to potentially spin that up and do a DR into that region.
Yeah, that's awesome. That helps out organizations a lot in today's world.
Yeah, makes it a lot easier for sure.
Yeah. So the third leg in this process is the immersion day, and you're probably asking yourself, at least I did when I first saw that term, what is an immersion day? Well, an immersion day is a one-day work group session. It can be held online or in person now that we're getting back into the work area. The workforces are starting to move back into the offices. And during that day, well, there's some planning that goes into it, because what we do is take the TCO report, go over that with you, get some clarification, and then identify an area that you want to focus on. And so we bring in AWS resources, the Doma resources, and we hold this day, and we can look at your databases, your database migration issues and concerns, application, servers, storage, all of the above. But what's really nice about it is it allows you to kick the tires with all the experts in one place at one time. You and your staff can ask questions, try before you buy, and also just kind of work through any scenarios that you want to work through with all the experts in one place, like I mentioned earlier. Not to mention, it gives you a way to actually get buy-in from your staff, so they become the cheerleaders for your organization when it comes to moving to the cloud. We found this to be a very useful and productive time. And I think we have customers that would tell you that they got a lot out of their immersion day. Would you agree, Chandler?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the immersion day is extremely helpful, especially for an organization that's new to AWS. It'll definitely cover all the bases and give you a good background on what to expect moving forward.
Yeah, it's funny because we probably did an immersion day to do an immersion day, didn't we?
One thing to note there, Dwayne, you touched on databases there. Our assessment also includes, we actually work really closely with a partner. Licensing for databases, especially Microsoft databases, we know is a huge price point. And we do have a partner that we work closely with that we bring in to run an OLA, which is an optimization and licensing assessment.
Yep.
That runs in parallel with ours. And they actually find a detailed report on your licensing based on the Microsoft perspective. So what they do is they'll take a look at your SQL Server licenses, to your Microsoft licenses, and see where your cost savings could be, migrating that from on-premises to the cloud.
Yeah, and we've found with our customers that we've done that with, that they've been able to identify a tremendous amount of savings that almost will pay for the cloud, that when you move to the cloud.
Yeah. It just shows you how pricey Microsoft is sometimes.
They rule the world, baby. They rule the world. All right, proof of concept. How has the cloud impacted other organizations? So with some of the not companies, we have worked with companies, but with the SLED organizations we've worked with, one such customer is down in Florida. But this 4-step process has really been effective. It's allowed them to have a structured roadmap, so to speak, to get to the cloud or get information to move to the cloud and better prepare themselves for that to happen. And so we've really done these projects, and it's been really interesting to me because I'm an old hardware guy, that everything you do with hardware you can do in the cloud, and you can do it cheaper and better and safer when it comes to security. And you don't have to lose sleep at night worrying about, we didn't get that upgrade done, or we didn't get that patching done, or a lot of that is done for you without you having to even worry about it. And so this whole process is focused around making the transition from traditional IT hardware and services to a more flexible, agile, and in my opinion, I think Chandler and Alfred would agree, a more reliable solution in the cloud. You guys have anything you want to say in that, as far as that goes with the process?
I don't have anything to add. That was very well stated.
All right, awesome. All right, so I mentioned a customer. Here's one customer that's state and local government. It's a pretty good size community down in Florida, the city of Port St. Lucie. They reached out to us, and we went through this process with them. And the case study for this is to your left on the screen in the handout section. If you would like to download it, feel free to do that, or email me and I will send it over to you right away. But either way, they had a SQL database application that they wanted to move over to the cloud, or at least they were considering it. We actually came in and worked with them through this entire process and identified how to do that in the best and most efficient way. And we moved that over onto the RDS solution with AWS, and they have continued to grow their services in the AWS cloud, and we're still working with them today, moving things over as they prepare and are ready and have budget to do such. Alfred, you're working with those folks down there. Anything you want to say?
No, we're just we're just powering on through. I know that we did a small application migration for them first. I think it consisted of about four VMs and one database that got moved over probably in about, I think it was a 3-4 week time span,
Yep.
including all the testing and approvals. So
yeah, and you and Chandler and his entire staff that focuses on cloud services, you guys have been right there to help them and not hold their hand, but be there beside them when they had issues. Most recently, they reached out and you jumped right in there and helped them. And I know Chandler would do the same. So
yeah, that's correct. We
you're
normally
not alone. When you move to the cloud with Doma, you're not alone. We're here to help and be there to help you through that. We like to be your trusted advisor and help you whenever you need our help.
Yep. Yeah, we provide them a monthly report of their environment, also of what's going on. So they normally get that every month, just to see where their pain points are and what they may need to do and whatnot. So on top of Trusted Advisor, you also have Doma Trusted Advisor.
That's right. All right. So how do we get started with, how did they get started with Doma? Well, it's easy as going to the website and clicking on our cloud services area and requesting an assessment, and one of us will reach out to you and set that up where we can start that discussion and going down that path. You can do it there. You can reach out to me personally or Alfred or Chandler and say, hey, I'd like to talk more about that, and we'll make all that come to fruition and happen for you in a quick manner. And then you can also find us on the AWS marketplace. We have our services out there. So if you're currently an AWS customer and you'd like us to do an assessment for you to help you identify other areas, just go to the marketplace and research Doma, and you should be able to find us there and request that we get in touch with you. If you have any questions, if you please list them in the questions section on the left-hand side. We are here to answer those. So we'll just wait here for just a couple minutes and see if there's any questions. All right, doesn't look like there's any questions. Well, wait a minute. I did get a question. What if we are already using the cloud in some capacity? Can we go right to an immersion day? What do you think, Chandler?
I don't see why not.
I would think that they would be able to do that, especially if they already are using AWS in some capacity. I don't think that would be a problem. And that just streamlines that 4-step process and gets us there. But if you want to have the assessment done or the licensing assessment done that Alfred mentioned, we are happy to do that. I had another question. Is there any benefit to an assessment for an organization that's already in the process of migrating? I believe there is personally, and I'll refer to Chandler in just a moment. But if you're asking us to help you migrate, or you're already in the middle of migrating and you want a second opinion, we are happy to come in and do that assessment for you and give you that second opinion that a lot of organizations want. They don't want to go with just the first person that walks in the door. Not that they've done that, but Chandler, would you, or Alfred, either one, would you think that there's a value to somebody that's already started down the migration path to have the assessment done?
Yeah, I think just like you said, Dwayne, I think a second opinion is always a good idea, to have an additional set of eyes on implementing a solution.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good way to go, to just make sure that they've been given all the detail they can to help them make those decisions to continue that journey and down that path. I think that's pretty cool. So if there's no other questions, I'd like to just say thank you all for attending the webinar today. We really appreciate you being here. DOMA is a company that's here to help you in any way that we can. We're a 20-year-old company based and headquartered out of Virginia. So we have reach all over the United States with our current clients, and we'd love to help you with talking about cloud services if you're interested. If you'll just reach out to us and let us know. This webinar will be on demand on our website, so feel free if you like to go back and go through it again. If you want any other questions answered, just email me or Alfred or Chandler Pitcher, and we'd be happy to answer those questions. Thank you again, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.